on my end. Here we go. Well, before we start off, just a forenote. The past couple of weeks when we've just had the introduction meetings, it's just been, us talking at you. You guys haven't been able to, collaborate as much with us or discuss with us. But when we do get to the point, hopefully today, where we're able to, talk with each other, discuss ideas, really get to know each other, we'd really appreciate it if everyone who's interacting at a time could have their camera on. But then besides that, if you don't want to have your camera on, that's completely fine. But yeah, we can go ahead and get started. So this is the first official meeting of the Nebraska CubeSat team, or whatever we're going to call ourselves. Hopefully we're able to work on an official name for our group today. But we should have some exciting topics to cover today, as well as kind of a guest speaker a couple of them who work in the aerospace industry right now and have had experience building CubeSats in the past when they were in college. But just a little bit of what we're going to talk about today, we're going to go ahead and go into some welcomes, some introductions, really get to know each other since we haven't had a chance to actually talk to each other since this process has started. We're going to go over some of our mission statements, make sure that the mission statement that we have right now is really what you guys want to get out of this project, and just rearrange that so we're able to get the best out of this experience. Then we're going to go ahead and have our special guest from EBAD, which stands for Ensign Bickford Aerospace and Defense. They get to work on rockets and cool stuff like that. We're going to have a little bit of an intermission just because we know this meeting is going to be pretty long, especially if you guys aren't used to being in these longer meetings. And then additionally, we have the meeting right after with Kevin's team, the team from Florida and from North Carolina. And we know you guys don't have to come to that meeting, but if you can make it, we'd really appreciate it if you could go there and just discuss payloads a little bit. And then we're going to talk a little bit about surviving space, what the challenges of going into space might be, because why is it that hard to send something up into space? And then just go into a little bit more of the details on the parts of a CubeSat and start brainstorming some payloads, and then we'll go ahead and carry that into the meeting with North Carolina and Florida. So does that sound good, everyone? Go ahead and move along. Okay. So, in the past couple weeks, you've been in on the introduction meetings. We've already introduced ourselves for the most part. So I'm going to stop sharing so that we can see each other's faces a little bit bigger on the screen. And we'll go through some introductions a little better. So in Zoom meetings, instead of having everyone talk over each other, I'm going to do my best to just call on people to talk. So if you have something you'd like to say, if you could please raise your hand. But when we're going through introductions, I'll just call on you and we can go ahead and introduce ourselves if that sounds all right with everyone. And as far as all the students that we have from across Nebraska, if you guys could at least say your name, the grade you're in, the school you're from, and then an interesting fact about yourself, and we can go ahead and get into some cooler stuff once we get past that. But I'll go ahead and start. So my name is Joel Schaefer. I'm a sophomore at UNL. An interesting fact about myself is I can move both of my eyebrows independently. If you guys can kind of see that on the camera, just something to get started there. So now I'm going to call in Tegan because she's the next one over. So if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sorry, I thought it was going to work because it works on my school computer, but anyways. So I'm Tegan. I'm a 9th grader. I talk really fast. I guess that'll be my interesting fact. And I go to Lincoln High School. So.
Awesome, Tegan. It's nice to have you on the team. And now Andrew Hardy.
Hi, my name is Andrew, and I go to Gretna Middle School. I'm an eighth grader. Um, Interesting fact about myself is I can name every European capital.
That's quite impressive, Andrew. It's great to have you on the team. Now, Elsa.
I'm Elsa. I'm doing homeschool this year, but normally I'd be going to Mickle. I'm in eighth grade. An interesting fact about myself, probably, I have multiple musicals memorized, but I love lots of different musicals that I haven't memorized yet.
Absolutely. It's very cool. It's great to have you on the team.
Thanks.
John, why don't you go ahead and go now?
Hi, I'm John Helzer. I'm a sophomore in mechanical engineering at UNL. And an interesting fact about myself is that I used to have 2 rats as pets.
It's very cool, John. All right, Dylan, why don't you introduce yourself now?
I'm Dylan Smith from Gretna Middle School, and I like band and robotics, I guess.
Absolutely. Just out of curiosity, what type of robotics do you do?
I did Lego robotics
Mm-hmm.
2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I did a little bit bigger normal robot that we had pick up like these balls and stuff.
Was that first Tech Challenge robotics by chance?
It was at the Edgerton Center in Aurora.
Oh, okay. It's very cool. It's very cool. Well, it's great to have you on the team, Dylan. Now, Robert, why don't you introduce yourself now?
I'm Robert Schmidt. I go to Lincoln Lutheran. I'm in 8th grade.
All right. And do you have an interesting fact about yourself?
Not really a good one, I guess. I did robotics last year.
It's very cool. What type of robotics again, I guess?
I think we did Vex robotics.
Vex robotics. Very cool. I've heard a lot about that recently. Well, it's great to have you on the team, Robert. Katie, why don't you introduce yourself now?
Hi, my name is Katie Lilla. I'm an eighth grader. I'm from Gretna Middle School, and I randomly burst out into songs sometimes.
That's good to have. We'll have to get some of the song recommendations from you for the songs we play before the meetings. All right, and it's great to have you on the team, Katie. Now, Andrew Wing, why don't you introduce yourself now?
Hello, my name is Andrew Wing. I go to Lincoln Lutheran. I'm a 9th grader, and I've been working on the same Python code for about a year now.
Wow. What is the Python code supposed to accomplish?
It's supposed to be something like Alexa.
Oh, wow.
I've gotten it to be able to open like Chrome windows and applications. That's
super cool, Andrew. It's great to have you on the team. I'm sure we'll need some of those coding skills in the future. Now, Elijah, or Elijah, why don't you introduce yourself now? Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, it's Elijah. I'm Elijah Hornbacher. I'm an 8th grader at Gretna Middle School, and an interesting fact about me is I'm a percussionist.
It's very cool. It's great to have you on the team, Elijah. Evan, why don't you introduce yourself now?
I am Evan Tyler. I go to Sco Middle School, and an interesting fact about me is I was born in Seoul, South Korea.
It's very cool. It's great to have you on the team, Evan. All right, so now, Gavin, why don't you introduce yourself now?
Hi, my name is Gavin Luthi. I'm an 8th grader at Gretna Middle School. An interesting fact is I can play the piano.
It's good stuff. It's great to have you on the team, Gavin. All right, and Caden, can you introduce yourself now?
Yeah, hello. I'm currently on my way to Kansas City, so I'm not using video just because it takes up a lot of bandwidth. But
yeah,
so you guys get a nice picture of my dad. But I am a junior at Aurora High School, and have been involved with robotics and a lot of other activities at my school.
Absolutely. Well, it's great to have you on the team, Caden. All right. So I think that's all of the students that we have, right? Did I miss any of the students?
Rachel, did you ask Rachel?
Yes. Oh, Rachel. Yes. Oh, great.
Hi
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. So Rachel is one of the EBAD Ensign Bickford Aerospace and Defense. And Rachel, do you want to say a few things about yourself? Just
Sure, why not? My name is Rachel. I work at Ensign Bickford Aerospace and Defense, otherwise known as EAD. And my fun fact is that I am an aerospace engineer.
absolutely. Well, it's great to have you in on this call, Rachel, and hopefully we'll
Thank
get
you.
to hear a lot of great stuff from you in a little bit.
Absolutely. So thank you for joining us soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Now, Karen and Sally, would you both like to, introduce yourself to the team too?
So I'm Karen Stelling. I am a mechanical engineer, worked consulting engineering 25 years before going into teaching. And a fun fact about me is that for 25 years, I did not have a TV in my home, and that's not because they weren't invented yet.
All right. And Sally?
Hi, I'm Sally Way. I'm currently working for the college doing K-12 outreach, but I worked for about 20 some years as an electrical engineer in industry. I guess that could be my fun fact, or another fun fact is that I've lived in about 6 states, I think, and spent a little bit of time in England.
It's very cool. All right. And last but not least, John McClure, I think you're in on this call too. Do you want to say a few things?
My name is John McClure. I own 3 companies that are helping sponsor the team. Let's see, a fun fact about me is that I led the business team that built something called GM OnStar at one time. So it's in right now, I think about 100 million cars.
Yeah, that's very impressive, and I actually didn't know that about you yet. But we'll go ahead and just to double check, we didn't miss anyone, did we? No. Okay, that sounds good. So let me go ahead, share my screen again. Screen 2 here. All right, and I'm about to send something in the chat too, potentially, if we get it up here. So a little bit of something that we need to discuss going into the future. Kind of the way that we were thinking we could collaborate is by using two project management tools called Slack and Trello. At the university and through the Aerospace Club, those are the tools that we primarily use. And so I went ahead and sent 2 links to join both Slack and Trello in the chat for the Zoom call. And I believe we're going to be sending out, an email with these links to join following the meeting too, just to make sure everyone gets on there. But we'd like to have everyone join both Slack and Trello pretty soon, if possible. Hopefully this weekend or early this week, just so that we can get everyone on there and help organize some of the things that we're doing. But now I'm going to try and organize breakout rooms. Let's see. My bad. John, do you want to talk to them about the name and just try and brainstorm here in a group? And I'll try and get the breakout rooms.
So one of the things we have to do for our CubeSat is come up with a mission name. So like every CubeSat that launches calls itself something.
Yeah. Hold on. My bad, guys. I am unfamiliar with the breakout rooms, and All right. We might have to get to that in a little bit later.
Joel, if you click on breakout rooms, are you just going to randomly assign people?
Yeah, I was planning on it.
So click on breakout rooms. How many do you want?
I
Are you the host of the meeting, or is John?
John is the host, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, John, you're the only one who can
Okay.
create breakout rooms as the host. So click on breakout rooms. How many do we want?
4 each, maybe. There's 16 of us here. Does
Okay.
4 sound like a good number?
Yeah, so click the number up to 4.
Okay.
And then just let it do automatically and have it assign. Yeah, that's one thing about Zoom is it only lets the host do it. It won't let the co-host. It's a kind of a nuisance.
Yeah, that's good to know for the future, though. We'll of course, have technical difficulties when we're trying to do everything over Zoom.
Okay, one problem though, I don't see myself in any of these breakout rooms.
That's because you're the host, so you can join any one of them.
Oh, okay, I see. Cool. I'll do it then.
Right. All right. Hi, Tegan and Elsa. All right. Do you guys have any ideas for what name should be?
No, I've been thinking, but I haven't thought of anything yet.
Yeah, I know we've been calling ourselves like the Nebraska CubeSat team, but that's just a little dry, I think. Some things that we had thought about before is like including Huskers in there in some way, or the North Carolina team and the Florida team, they go by the Wolf Pack or the Fox Sat, are there like satellites and whatnot. We were thinking we could do something along those lines too. Or I don't know if you guys know, the Huskers were originally the Bug Eaters.
My middle school, or no, my elementary school music teacher would talk about it a lot. So
Yeah. Well, we could do like Bug Sat, even though that's a little weird.
It's funny because Kevin from Florida, he's like, don't let the team name themselves after an insect. And I'm like, but we used to be the Bug Eaters. He says, oh.
There's a bug called the water bear, and it can survive space, and it can withstand extreme environments of hot and cold, and even the vacuum of space. So that's
yeah, those are cool.
I want to go with like the vicious animal theme.
We could call ourselves. Well, I mean, the other name for it is tardigrade, but I don't know which one sounds cooler. I like both.
Tardigrade. So like, yeah, that's very cool. How could we word that into like being like a team or something?
I have no idea.
I mean, we could just be the water bears, and we don't have to put sat in it.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a pretty cool name, I have to say. Water bears. Are there any other like cool insects that you guys know of?
I'm just laughing because this comes about a bug. We're like, let's go bugs. I love it. But I still, they're cool bugs, right? There's praying mantises, right?
Tiny though, they're like really microscopic, which kind of works because CubeSats are so small.
Yeah. There's a metaphor somewhere in there. All right. Also looks like a bunch of people have joined Slack. That's awesome.
So if we didn't go with the bug concept, is there something else, something, I don't know. It could even be something like plain sat because we're, on or prairie sat or something like that. So I don't know if there's anything else when you think about what might kind of define us or have people think about us.
Nebraska can be so like nondescript sometimes.
So like generic satellite.
Yeah.
So, like I love prairie dogs.
They're so cute.
I have a friend who owns a prairie dog, actually.
Really?
Yeah, her uncle breeds prairie dogs, and I thought that was
Really?
But just fun fact.
Absolutely. No, it's always good to have lots of fun facts when we're getting to know each other.
Yeah. I didn't know you could breed prairie dogs. I think Nebraska is the only state that actually allows folks to force neighbors to kill their prairie dogs, and they'll come kill them and charge you for it. And they say because it's cattle will trip in the holes, but they do not have a single story of where a cattle's tripped in the hole. Yeah.
Interesting.
Like snakes burrow, and there are a lot of other things that burrow in the ground. So that's kind of like
Yeah.
But they do destroy like plant roots and stuff like that. So if they have like a lot of native grass or something they're trying to keep.
Actually, the prairie needs to be turned over every like 3 to 5 years, so that actually they do a good thing. And I think the burrowing owls use their holes, and snakes, and so that they abandoned. So anyway, but sorry.
Yeah.
More fun facts, but not relevant.
You know, all in good fun when we're learning. That brings up another thing. So like cows, right? Nebraska has a lot of cows, but I don't know how CubeSat sounds or like.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to be heifer sat. I don't think bull sat's a good idea either.
No.
Moosat?
Moosat? That might be a little better.
Yeah, it's better than CubeSat.
Yeah.
What else?
We have a lot of corn, but that's not a good name. But we have lots of corn.
Yeah. Corn set.
That one because of Iowa now, but
What about?
Yeah, there's always like Husker Sat, but it should be original since, but I don't know.
Yeah, is there anything else like even like since we're mostly from Eastern Nebraska, anything else from Eastern Nebraska that we're known for? I know Dr. Ferreter's the big thing he likes to say is from Nebraska are vice grips. I know Kool-Aid is from Nebraska too.
You don't want to be vice sat.
Yeah.
Platte sat, since the Platte River. That actually, kind of has a ring and.
Yeah. Or you could just do something with water or with flooding, since Nebraska is famous for that now.
Well, actually, we're known for being flat. We could be flat sat.
Flat sat. It does have the ring to it.
Right, because people say that we're just so flat,
Well, are there like, can we come up with like a top 3 or 4 names that we've talked about? I don't know. So like there was the water bear, right?
Yeah, that was a good idea.
Water bears, tardigrades, plain sat, prairie dogs, moose sat, Husker sat, flat sat.
The other thing I can think of is the tiger beetles, and they're like native to Nebraska, and they live in like not swamp areas because we live in Nebraska, but like I can't remember the word, but they're like to Nebraska and they're endangered, and so
yeah, Salt Creek has the tiger beetles.
Yeah. All right. So the top ones that I have right now are the water bears, tardigrade, something to do with tiger beetles, and then not CubeSat, but variations of the CubeSat. what other ones am I missing that we talked about? The like, flat
Ancient
set.
ones, I just don't know if you like them. The flat sat, Husker sat, moose sat, prairie dogs, prairie sat, plain sat. Any of those? Do you like any of those, Elsa or Tegan? What are your favorites? Also, which ones did you like best?
I don't know. I liked the tiger beetle idea. That was a good idea. I also liked the tardigrade idea.
Mhm.
Mostly, that's probably because like my favorite show has a bunch of tardigrades in them. But you know, so I'm kind of biased, but I really like that idea. I
Which
liked.
show has tardigrades in it?
Yeah, that's a good
It's just
question.
well actually I have a poster.
Oh,
Probably
sorry.
backwards for you. Star
Sorry.
Trek. Yeah, the new show no one likes it as much as the old ones, but I like it. The cow sat was kind of funny, but yeah.
All right.
And
what about
Tegan, what about you?
I mean, I guess I'd probably have to go with the tardigrades one personally, just because it ties in more to the other like two people, like their mission, and they want like where the goal is to each make one U and then ship them together.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And do you like that better or the same as like the water bears?
I guess the same. I don't know. I'm more of a biology, computer science person, so
It's very cool.
that kind of area.
All right. Well, I don't know if John is closing the breakout rooms or. Yeah, it looks like everyone is out of breakout room 1 and 4. So maybe we're supposed to leave the breakout room.
Okay. We'll see you guys on the main screen.
Yeah, see you guys.
I said this before, but people that are just coming in from the breakout rooms, if you want to put your best ideas in the chat, we already kind of started a compilation of ideas.
Our team didn't like wheelchair sat for Sally and I.
You didn't like what, John?
Wheelchair sat. Since
Oh,
we were
geez.
the two old fogies on the team.
Yeah. And Andrew, I think Coyote is technically taken. The team from North Carolina is is it the Coyote sat or is it the Fox sat?
I believe it's
Oh, my
Fox
bad.
Sat. Yeah, Fox
Yeah,
Sat.
my bad. I misspoke. So Coyote is not taken, it seems. Should be good. All
Joel
right.
Sat's not taken.
What was that, John?
Joel Sat.
We'll see. All right. Let me go ahead and share again. So it seems like we have some good names in the Slack chat, or not Slack chat, in the Zoom chat. Once everyone gets on to Slack, I have a channel called Team Logo, and we can go ahead and discuss the team logo and the team name once everyone does get into Slack, while we're not actively meeting, and just kind of discuss it throughout the week if anyone has any great ideas pop up over time. But we can go ahead and continue on with the meeting here. I guess I kind of gave a little teaser there. Once we do have a mission name, or even if we don't have a mission name directly right now, we need to have a mission logo. Yeah, and there's Katie. Katie said something. You're a digital artist and you can try your best to design a logo. That'll be great, Katie. And just addressing the chat right now, Robert, I think if you scroll up, or let me just link that again there. Katie, it'd be great if we could have you put together a few things just to test out some of the ideas. Do you think you could do that sometime this week, Katie? All right. It looks like you're nodding there. That looks great. And Andrew said he could make a couple too. Yeah, so once we get everyone into Slack, we can kind of have that discussion there and make sure that we have people working on that and all of that. And just to get all of the names kind of put together for what we think are good ideas right now, it looks like there's the tardigrades or water bears. Let me make a quick list right now. The white fangs, the coyote, something to do with coyotes, right? And I guess, were there any other great ideas other than like the tardigrades or water bears, the white fangs, or something to do with coyotes?
There is flying corn sat.
Flying corn sat.
Robert, which one did you come up with in Caden? I think Robert had husk sat.
Mm-hmm.
We also had like big red satellite.
I like that one a lot, big red satellite.
Or like we talked about Kool-Aid too.
Mm-hmm.
Caden had track sat.
Sandhill cranes, that's a good thing that we could add in.
There was some discussion in our group about like bison and prairies.
Bison and prairies?
I just kind of like, I don't know, similar to sandhill cranes.
I like that big red one because that ties into Mars.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, that's a good addition in there. Kind of the list that I have right now is the tardigrades or water bears, the white fangs, something to do with coyotes, the flying corn sat, the husk sat, a big red satellite, something to do with kind of Kool-Aid. You might be able to mix Kool-Aid and big red satellite together somehow. some stuff to do with the Sandhill Cranes, or with bison, or something with the prairies. And it looks like a prairie rocket too. That could be something as well. Katie, it looks like you're trying to say something. Are you? Okay, no. Okay, I saw you looked like you were talking. I wanted to make sure.
Joel, do you know if any of these are already taken? Kevin gave us the database.
Yeah, to my knowledge, not that I know of, but that is something that we'll have to look into a little bit down the line. For now, I'm going to copy and paste kind of the list that I have into the Slack channel, and hopefully everyone gets on Slack pretty soon, and we can continue discussing it a little bit later on. Does that sound good to everyone? Yeah. And if we can narrow, I think kind of what I was thinking right now, if we can have everyone join Slack and narrow down the names a little bit, we can have everyone vote actually just in Slack, and then we can kind of decide our name that way, as long as everyone's looking at Slack on a semi-regular basis.
Joel?
Yeah?
I think John can set up a poll right now in Zoom. Maybe while somebody's speaking, and then maybe at the end of the meeting, you can do the poll.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll work on that.
All right. So John will do that, and we can continue on kind of with the presentation. So just a refresher on the timeline we're kind of looking at. Weekly meetings every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We should all know that since we're on the call right now. Today, the kind of our primary objectives were to work on the logo, the mission statement, and kind of preliminary payload ideas, and just kind of talk about some of the design considerations we're going to have to make. Kind of going into September, October, late October, we have the PDR, or the preliminary design review, where we're going to have to talk about what is actually on our satellite when we're making the paper. And then in November, we're going to have to finalize a proposal to give to the NASA CubeSat Launch Initiative, which is going to be the group of people who actually decide if we get to send the CubeSat into space. For the most part, we don't have to worry about those later dates right now. Just we need to keep in mind and get started on some of the tasks that we have at hand. And now, in the previous kind of intro meetings, we've discussed what the AXP team, some of the goals that we came up for, all of us. But we really wanted to get all of your input to make sure that our goals are really aligned with what you all are hoping to get out of this project. So just a refresher, we'd like to all grow our engineering and aerospace skills, build and launch several high-altitude balloons along the design process, build and then launch the CubeSat, and along with that, make that a NASA project and really gain experience working on a team, be able to use our creativity skills and communication skills to, work well on a team together. Is there anything else that you guys have would like to make sure that we try and accomplish while we are on this team together? Yeah. If you have anything, you can type it into the chat, or you can unmute yourself or anything like that. It doesn't look like there's anything specific that anyone has right now. In Slack, again, we can probably finalize some of the wording there and make it really a living. Oh, Dylan. So you all in this meeting right now have been accepted to the team. I guess that may not have been explicitly said enough in the Zoom call today, but in the email we sent out to everyone, you all in this call right now were accepted to the team, or the CubeSat NASA thing. What happens if we don't get accepted for that specific proposal? So that's always a possibility. Hopefully we don't. Hopefully we do get accepted, but there's always the next year. For as far as the NASA CubeSat launch initiative. And additionally, there are other opportunities to send a CubeSat into space. I've gotten a few emails over the past couple days just about other companies that have like an extra spot on a rocket of some sort. And so we're still going to be able to send that into space, maybe not directly through the NASA CubeSat launch initiative this year, or not get accepted this year, but still have the ability to work on a CubeSat, grow our engineering and aerospace skills, and then in the future hopefully be able to put a CubeSat into space. But we should have lots of contingency plans if that does happen. But after talking about the goals here, I think we're going to transition into our special guests today. We have Stephanie and Rachel from Inside Bickford Aerospace and Defense. And it looks like you two are both on the call right now. Is that right?
Hello. Yes, we've got myself and Stephanie here.
Hi,
Stephanie,
everybody.
Great.
All right. So do you guys have some slides to share too? Or
We do.
Okay.
I can go ahead and share my screen if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be great. I think the floor is all yours.
Great, thank you. Can everyone see my screen? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yes, it's not in present mode, but I can see it.
Yes.
Whatever you're going for.
Okay, that is the key piece, is that you can see it. Well, hello everyone. It's nice to be here today. We're happy to talk to you a bit about what it is that Stephanie and I do for work, and a little bit about ourselves and how we got into aerospace. We'll go ahead and get started. We are from Ensign Bickford Industries, a parent company to our company, Ensign Bickford Aerospace and Defense, or EBAD as we call it. Stephanie, would you like to start with your bio here?
I would love to. Okay, so my name is Stephanie. I am an alumni of Worcester Polytechnic Institute in Massachusetts, where I majored in aerospace engineering and minored in material science. I'm currently getting my master's from WPI in aerospace engineering, and I've been working at EBAD for a little over a year, closer to a year and a half now. Some fun facts about me. So I'm really into model rocketry. I did a lot of that in college. I like to do some traveling. I lived in Namibia, which is a country in Southern Africa, for 2 months during college, which was a really cool experience. I like to do a lot of aerospace stuff, especially in college. I was an officer of our AIAA chapter at WPI, as well as the founder and president of our Women in Aerospace organization. I also did some running. I run cross country and track and field while I was there. Still do that now, but a little bit more casually. Yeah, so that's pretty much about me. At EBAD, I work on the separation and destruct team, and I make a product called a frangible joint, which is used for stage separation in launch vehicles and missiles, with Rachel. And take it away, Rachel.
All right, thank you, Steph. Well, I work with Stephanie quite closely at EBAD, and I've been at the company for about 2 years now. I also graduated from the Worcester Polytechnic Institute, or WPI, in Worcester, Massachusetts, class of 2018. And while I was there, I was the president of the Satellite Development Club, which made a CubeSat very similar to the project that you're looking to accomplish. So I'm very happy to get involved and provide some mentorship and hopefully some lessons learned that will help you all out, because I certainly learned a few things the hard way during my time with the club. I also work on frangible joints, which do stage separation for my projects for launch vehicles, such as SLS, which is what Orion is going to hopefully be launching on soon. And I spent a few summer internships working on Orion at Lockheed Martin in Colorado, which was an awesome experience. My hobbies include running and weightlifting. I do martial arts for fun, and I also do mud runs. I also really enjoy working on my car and, in general, making things. So we're very happy to be here today and to share a bit about our company from here. Our parent company, EBI, has a few different subsidiaries, or some other companies that come together to make the one larger EBI, which includes AFB International, Envirologics, Ensign Bickford Aerospace and Defense, and Honeybee Robotics. And I'll give you a very brief overview of each of these things, because I think we're here mostly to talk about EBAT. But a brief history lesson about our company is that we were founded in 1836, and we are growing very rapidly. And our EBI Foundation supports a lot of work, such as getting involved with groups like yours, doing outreach events. And so we have some really awesome backing from our company to get involved. One of our subsidiary companies is AFB International, and they are a fun one to talk about because they make pet food palatants, which means the tasty stuff on the outside of the food that you feed your cats and your dogs. And so I think everybody at our company is very jealous of them because they have their cats and their dogs walking around the office. Well, maybe not exactly, but they get to play with their cats and dogs while they develop their pet food and test it out with these fun guys. So I think that maybe EBAD can get a dog or two, maybe one day. We'll see. Hopefully. I think it's wishful thinking. Envirologics makes test kits to test for GMOs in food. Stephanie, do you have anything to add to either of these two companies, which I am not as well versed in?
No, I think you hit it pretty well.
Fantastic. Honeybee Robotics is a fun company because they make space robots, essentially, or in other words, advanced robotic systems for the world's most demanding environments applications. And so we get to work with Honeybee every once in a while, and they do some really cool work making systems that go on Mars rovers and launch vehicles and a variety of other things in space as well as on Earth. Which brings us to Ensign Bickford Aerospace and Defense, which we develop and produce mission-critical hardware that needs to work first time, every time. Because if you're going to make a really expensive launch vehicle and a satellite, that you really want it to work the first time, because it costs a lot of money for it to get there and a lot of effort and a lot of years in the making. So we make those types of products that are really critical to achieving these really important launches. We make a variety of products, but our main focus is with what we call energetics or explosives, which makes our job pretty fun. The device that Stephanie and I tend to work on is called a frangible joint, and essentially what it is a few plates of metal with some explosive running through it that when it detonates, it severs that metal so you can separate the different stages of your spaceship and go off into orbit and continue your mission from there. So I think I have a lot of fun with my job. Stephanie, feel free to chime in if you have any other thoughts or any other comments to add to what EBAD does.
Yeah, definitely. So in addition to the stuff that Rachel and I work on, which is a lot for separation, we also do, as you can see on this slide, a lot of different components for satellites, tactical payloads, vehicle protections, such as for armor on tanks, We do kind of a reactive explosive that protects the folks inside. We do some industrial applications, and we do military applications like the backpacks they wear and use as a door breach. We make those. We make a lot of cool stuff over at EBAD and at all of our companies in the EBI family. But I would love to, if we don't have any more slides, just take some questions about maybe what we do specifically, or just questions about aerospace in general, or questions about really anything. We're here to field whatever questions you might have.
I have a question. Do you guys get to be involved with the testing of these devices at all, or are you just the design?
Oh yeah, I think that's one of the coolest parts about Rachel and I's job. So we are development engineers, and so EBAD is kind of like a medium-sized company, I would say. So we don't. So we have about 400-ish people at EBAD, maybe more now. We've been we've been hiring pretty rapidly. Rachel, I think you're breaking up. But so we have been growing pretty rapidly. So as development engineers, we get to not only design our components, but we also play a really big part in the development and testing. So we do a lot at our stage of building the components, as well as working with the test group to test them. We're often there for the tests, and we kind of play a big role in that. And then once it kind of moves into past the development stage and into qualification, we get out of it a little bit more, but we're still usually always around in case anybody has questions or anything goes wrong and we have to kind of troubleshoot and work with the data.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. We have a fun job. We get to, things blow up every day for good reasons.
Yeah, and on another note, if any of the students have any questions, please unmute yourself, or you can go ahead and type them in chat. It looks like one of the questions is specifically for Rachel. What was the payload that was in your CubeSat in college?
Yeah, so the payload that we were working on was going to measure and characterize radiation in low Earth orbit. We found that there was a need for that type of information, and it just wasn't out there, so that was our intention. We didn't end up getting selected and being able to launch it, but we certainly got some good research done for it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very cool. I do have a question too, specifically for your work at EBAD. So the big thing that you guys have like hammered through that what EBAD does for the like, it works every time consistently. So as far as the testing goes, like how many times do you have to test these components, and what like type of resources go into the actual testing side of things?
So we test things a number of times. In fact, what will usually happen is we will get our requirements, or the customer will tell us what they want, and then we will say, okay, we have this similar product that we're going to adapt to, fit their needs, and start by doing some preliminary risk reduction testing, as we call it, and try things out and see what works, see what doesn't, and come up with the preliminary design. And once we have that together, then we start to really stress it out. We find out, we test it to higher temperatures, to more rounds of vibration. We really stress it and see if it's going to survive the environments that are going to be seen during launch. Mm-hmm. And then after that round of testing is complete, then we bring it to our next round of testing, which ensures that we meet all of the requirements of the customer. That says, if your launch vehicle, if your spaceship is going to go up and it's going to be this hot, well, we're going to run a test to see if it functions at that temperature. So we start with some really aggressive testing, then we start to tone it back as we refine our design.
Yeah, and just to take it back one step further, just in terms of quantities. So that's really all mathematically based, and I would be happy to talk to you about the statistics because I really like math. But So really the quantities that we test in addition to the conditions that we're testing them to is really all based in statistics. So the customers or the requirements that come to us from our customer come from different specs, like industry specifications that kind of use statistics to derive their quantities. But also if you're doing some development testing, you can use different sort of statistical analysis techniques to come up with a statistically significant number of parts that you'll need to test to prove with a reasonable amount of confidence that they'll work. Some people think that's boring, or I think that's fun. But if you don't think it's boring, please reach out to me. I will be happy to tell you more.
She's just dying to talk to someone about this. She's just so excited and beside herself. I appreciate you, Steph.
I have a question regarding kind of what you guys were involved in high school. So I know you is there anything you would suggest for individuals interested in aerospace to do during high school?
You cut out a bit there on my computer. Steph, were you able to hear?
Yeah, you broke up a little bit there, but I think the gist of your question was that you were looking to know what you could do in high school to kind of better prepare you for a future in aerospace.
Yes, sorry about that.
Oh, no, not a problem. So in my opinion, I've always loved aerospace. I can't say that I did an overwhelming number of things in high school besides just kind of reading and learning and really kind of pursuing that passion. Looking back on it, something that I would suggest is, so I did a lot of work with model rocketry in college, and looking back on it now, it is absolutely achievable to do that in high school because it's only as complex as you want to make it. So depending on what kind of stuff you're interested in, if you're interested in kind of the more like mechanical engineering side, the electrical engineering side, the computer science side, the robotics side, whatever it is about aerospace that you're interested in, I would say read about it. That would be the number one thing, just learning about what's going on and then kind of finding little things that you could do to work on that. So like, for instance, if you were interested in rocketry, you could start reading books about model rocketry. You can even buy really simple kits that you can get to start making that. If you're interested in coding, there are so many, I know that they kind of teach that now in some schools, but certainly didn't teach that to us. I'm really not that old, but we really weren't that advanced. You could do there's so many stuff online that you can use to learn about coding and electrical engineering. And you can kind of think of cool ways that you could apply that to even doing stuff with rocketry. You could start building your own robots. There's just so many cool things that you can do.
I totally agree with Steph. And I would also add that sometimes it's not even so much getting specific into aerospace, but even just gaining technical experience doing whatever it is that you enjoy doing, whether it's working on your car, or I happen to be involved in first robotics competition. And that's what really sold me on being an engineer in the first place. So I would highly recommend first robotics. And really whatever opportunities you have, whether it's organized activities or not, or if it's working with your parents in the garage, or there's plenty more creative ideas out there. But technical things in general, and just having a passion for learning and a passion for making things as well is great to pursue.
It looks like there's a question in the chat too. So what kind of things did you learn as you built or designed your model rocket or CubeSat? And how did that like apply to your career now?
Good question. Well, I can go first on that one. I guess first of all, I learned a lot of things when I was working on my CubeSat, as well as just going through college in general. I think one of the key lessons I learned was to persevere and to keep trying, because it's going to be challenging, and sending things into space is no joke. There's no doubting that, and there's great reward at the end, but it also takes some trials to get there. I learned a lot of technical things. I learned a lot of leadership skills. And I learned to have patience with the process. And even as I started working full time, I got thrown into a job that I didn't know what was going on. It's all very complicated. And it was very important to remember that the experience will come and to stick with it, even though it can be challenging at first when you don't understand what's happening and you feel very lost. Stephanie?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Rachel. Some of the most important things were, especially like when we entered a brand new competition, like I would say that I was probably among the first class or two to really get super heavily involved with model rocketry at WPI. And when we were trying to enter new competitions and really build ourselves as a club, there was a lot that we had to learn. There was so much that we learned from other clubs that became our club friends. We became really close with a bunch of other universities and learned a lot from each other. And just really finding people to like look up to and learn from, because it's always going to be hard when you're new. Everything from the logistics of travel to the actual technical details of building something. And that's all something you can learn and things that you can apply to just having a good mindset in terms of being an engineer or really just in your life. And then also just kind of being a good teammate, learning how to lead other people, and especially where to find good sources of information. And it turns out for model rocketry, that's mostly an online hobbyist forums, but sometimes you take what you can get.
Yep. I'd also add, now that you make me think of it, is it's not so much having the technical knowledge, but knowing where to find answers and where to find help and to ask for help, because you will need help. There's no getting around that. So the sooner that you can find mentorship and find support and find what your technical resources are going to be, the easier it'll get.
Absolutely. Those are some great questions and some even better answers, I have to say. And I guess we didn't really specify it at the beginning, but Stephanie, Rachel, and then another person that works at EBAD, John, are mentors for the AXP team, which are kind of the mentors for this entire team here today. So hopefully everyone that's working on this project is going to have connections to mentors at the college level on the AXP team, and additionally have connections in the industry level with Stephanie and Rachel. All right. But if there aren't any other questions, I think we can go ahead and thank Stephanie and Rachel for coming here today. I think we all had a great time learning a bit more about EBI, EBAD, and what aerospace might look like in the real world.
Thank you. It's to be able to join you. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Well, yeah. All right. I think the next thing on our agenda is to have a little bit of an intermission for anyone that might need to run to the restroom or grab a snack or just stretch their legs, because these meetings can get a little long, and additionally because we do have kind of the optional meeting with the North Carolina and the Florida team to kind of go over payloads and see some of the work they've been doing. So if you need to run out to the bathroom, please do that now. I'm going to go ahead and play the video, mute myself, and we'll plan to kind of reconvene at 11:15 for anyone that has to run off, okay?
Joel, can you turn up the audio on the video?
but it remained an open question whether the reverse is possible, if a magnetic field could generate electric current. Faraday answered this question with his most famous apparatus.
Faraday's electromagnetic induction ring, which is this.
In August 1831, Faraday wrapped 2 coils of insulated wire around this iron ring.
But in 1831, you could not go down to your local electrical hardware shop and ask for X hundred meters of insulated wire. You had to insulate the wire as you went, and so as you pushed and pulled the wire out of the ring, you had to insulate it. It takes 10 working days, which is a huge investment of time.
But the investment paid off. When Faraday connected a battery to one of the coils, he saw a brief pulse of current in the other coil. And when he disconnected the battery, he saw a pulse of current in the other direction. He realized that current was induced in the second coil only when the magnetic field through it was changing. And if they hadn't been wrapped on the same ring, Faraday may have noticed that the 2 coils repel each other when the current is induced, and that's due to the interaction of their magnetic fields. Which brings us back to this. Through the bottom coil we are passing a huge electric current, 800 amps, which alternates in direction 900 times per second. This ensures there will always be a changing magnetic field above the coil. Instead of a second coil, we're using the aluminum plate, but the principle is the same. The changing magnetic field induces currents in the plate that create an opposing magnetic field, so it levitates.
How awesome is that?
This current is not only good for levitating the plate, it can also make light bulbs glow.
A gift. Oh, thank you. Oh, that is cool.
Not too close because it will burn the arms.
Can I put it there?
Yeah.
And just as current in a toaster element heats it up, the induced current in the plate dissipates its energy as heat.
And some water too.
Thank you.
Yeah, to see the temperature.
Check out how hot this plate is. Oh, that is nuts. Is this your favorite demo?
It's like a flying barbecue or something.
Tell me this is not the best dinner table centerpiece. It levitates, it gives you light, and you can cook on it. And all the while, you're demonstrating Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. But where do they get that matter to grow?
It's nutrients out the
All right, everyone, welcome back from the intermission. I hope you enjoyed that short little break. Now what we're going to talk about is surviving space, because it can be really challenging to put something into orbit. There's a reason humans can't live in space without spacesuits. There's a reason that we need a planet, because space is challenging. So Joel, can you go to the next slide? So some of the limitations of space, obviously there's a lot of temperature variation, but this happens when you're going around the Earth. Like even from the time you're in the sun to on the shady side of the Earth, the temperature can vary by hundreds of degrees. So it can go from like negative 40 degrees Celsius to almost boiling at 85 degrees Celsius. Another problem is solar radiation. On Earth, we're protected from radiation by the Earth's magnetic field. But once you get up into orbit, even like low Earth orbit, you start experiencing a large amount of solar radiation. And this radiation comes from the sun, it comes from like gamma radiation, it comes from particles, it comes from cosmic rays. There's a lot of different sources of radiation. And just like on Earth, how places like Chernobyl are uninhabitable because of the radiation, in space, radiation can be really harmful to not just humans, but machines too. So like one big problem, for example, is with missing bits. So every CubeSat and every satellite uses some form of computing software. And when you have high levels of radiation, these ionized particles can cause basically information to go missing sometimes, which is a big issue. Another problem is orbital debris. You've probably all heard of the space junk crisis, how there's basically just a bunch of trash floating up in space. And that's a problem because even a small piece of trash, like even a small piece of something like the size of a grain of sand, when it's moving at thousands of miles an hour, it can puncture steel. Another big problem is during the launch, there's a lot of acceleration forces. There's up to 10 G, which means like 10 times the force of gravity acting on our CubeSat when it's getting launched into orbit. And another problem is the vacuum environment, as this vacuum cleaner shows. No, it's not actually a vacuum cleaner. It's just, but the vacuum environment in space means that we have to be very cautious about containing all kinds of fluids that we're working with. So what does this mean for us? It means that because space is tough to survive in, we have to design our CubeSat very tough too. So there are different components that we're going to have to use that are specifically designed for space. I know like a lot of the motherboards and electronic components are space rated and space tested, so we'll have to use that. We'll have to test quite a bit. NASA requires a lot of like vibration tests and structural tests to basically make sure that our CubeSat doesn't fall apart before it gets to space. But we also need to be doing testing on our own to make sure that our components work the way we think they will. This is something that our high altitude balloon will really help us with. And finally, we need to design a CubeSat that'll burn up on re-entry. So I don't know exactly how long our CubeSat will be in orbit, but it definitely won't be for more than like a year or two. And when that's done, we need to have components that will burn up easily so that we don't just create more space junk. So now that we've discussed kind of the challenges of space, it's time to talk about what goes into a CubeSat. So I want to hear from you guys. What do you think are the critical parts of a CubeSat? And you can just like unmute yourself.
Some sort of computer along with a battery source, power source.
Excellent. Yes. Yes, you need computing power. You need a power source. Dylan in the chat says you need a frame. That's absolutely correct. And he says the battery and brain too. Absolutely. Any other parts that you can think of? The payload. Yes, absolutely the payload. A scanner maybe. Circuits and wires. Yes, all these are absolutely correct. Joel, can you go to the next slide?
Yeah.
So yeah, so you guys pretty much hit this exactly on the head. There are basically 6 parts. There's the structure, which is, like you said, the frame. So for what we're doing, we'll have a 1U frame, which is a 10-centimeter cube. There's communication we need. This kind of goes along with the brains of the CubeSat. So we'll have some kind of radio light. We need power. So not only do we need batteries, we also need some way to charge the batteries. panels on the outside of the CubeSats. Then we need the computing, which is the brains of the CubeSat, the payload, which is our chance to get creative. And if we really want to, we could also put in some kind of control system. So what a lot of CubeSats do is they use flywheels. It's like you've probably seen some sort of videos of things in space, and they have like these spinning wheels. Because basically how it works is if you spin a wheel in one direction, the CubeSat like rolls in the other direction. So that's one way of controlling CubeSats. Or we also have other propulsion methods, like basically small rocket blasters or something. So yeah, the final part of the CubeSat is the payload, which is probably the most important aspect that we're concerned with. This is our chance to get creative. This is our chance to put what we want into space. You can do pretty much anything but explosives. That's a NASA rule, not our rule. So we have some payload ideas already. We talked about at the AXP general meeting about stuff like asteroid detection, space junk. We looked at ways to measure and detect radiation. We looked at some more computer-y solutions like deep learning or cybersecurity. Something that Kevin's teams have done in the past that's worked really well is working with bacteria too. So we're going to go into breakout rooms in just a second. And the idea here is to come up with as many payload ideas as you can. Remember, it can be pretty much anything. And we'll come back and we'll assemble our payload ideas as a team.
And especially, I know all of you have a lot of like really cool interests. And we want to do a payload that is what you guys are interested in. So I know several of you are interested in biology. So try and target your interests, especially.
Absolutely.
And can we do larger breakout rooms by chance? So maybe just 2 or 3?
Okay, I have 3 right now. I have 3 right now. So it'll be basically. John, do you want 4 rooms, or are you thinking like 4 to 5 people per room?
4 to 5 people per room, and if you could sort of we'll join, but take Sally and I and Karen out of the formula, so there's more students in there. I almost think that if you split it in half, you'll get more discussion.
Okay. 1 second then. I'm going to configure those. All right, so we have it split right now, right down the middle. And let's go get some cool CubeSat ideas. Let's maybe try for like 5 minutes tentatively, but we can go longer if there's discussions that are still going on.
John, before you break out, Karen, are you in a position to talk about LICOR and what you guys ended up discussing relative to dyes?
Not really. I mean, I was in the one meeting they had with Florida, and they said they had their dyes available, but they did. I don't really feel that I can say what their different dyes can do. Okay. Their dyes are powder, so you have to add water, and then they may respond to different kinds of light to help you see the reactions of certain materials. But beyond that, that's why I'd like to have LICOR come join us in a different meeting where they can kind of run through the different things they can do.
Okay. Just in general, for the students, we're also looking at technology that originates in Nebraska that you all can use, so that this becomes really a really Nebraska-centric program and project. So we'll bring you some more ideas later, but your ideas now as far as what problems do you want to solve would be really grateful.
Absolutely, yeah, that's a great way to focus on it, to look at what problems we want to do.
Or what do you want to learn?
Yeah. All right, keeping in mind, yeah, the focus on problems and learning, let's go to.
There we go.
Hi there, everyone. Does anyone have any like great ideas off the top of their head already?
We should put the coronavirus into space and see how it's.
I have to say
we should.
that crossed my mind several times.
Popcorn in it.
Popcorn. I wonder if that's ever been done before. It's an interesting.
Like pre-pop popcorn.
Pre-pop popcorn. Okay. What would be the kind of the thing we're studying through that?
Well, I'd just be curious to see what would happen in the vacuum.
Yeah. That could be interesting, yeah.
I think we need a camera on it. That just would be so awesome to be able to see it from a first person's perspective.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's certainly something we can do. Elsa, I know you, I think you mentioned some ideas before when we were in the first breakout room. Do you have any ideas right now?
Well, I had one. I know I looked it up, and mushrooms can survive in space, which I didn't know. So I was kind of wondering, like, I don't know what kind of things we could do with that, but I thought that was kind of neat that they could survive in space. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that could be really interesting. Maybe like NASA is super interested about sending things to Mars or to the moon for colonization. Is there some sort of like mushroom like that that could provide great like food, and then we don't have to like worry about it being inside a special thing? We can just set it in the vacuum.
yeah, maybe.
I think that's a great idea. We could do some more research on that going into the future, just seeing if there's any like particular type of mushroom that would be really good to send into space.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, yeah, so Gavin said like we need to make sure and have a camera. I think that's a great idea. It's always good to be able to do something like that and be able to really like show what we're working on, and that it works. So I know John mentioned Chernobyl. You guys all know about Chernobyl, right? The nuclear power plant that exploded. About how that's kind of similar to space in terms of radiation. There was a paper put out very recently, in like the past month or so, about a fungus, which is like similar to mushrooms, I guess, that came out of Chernobyl. It like mutated and is now just like living there, that blocks radiation pretty well, which could be something really, really cool if we're able to get our hands on. We might not be able to, but just something to keep in mind, that it's a possibility to do something like that. Yes. How much do all of you know about radiation in general?
Not much. I've seen some stuff about Chernobyl, like just about that, and like atomic bombs and things, like and how it can cause all kinds of sicknesses, but like I haven't learned that much about it. I've read a couple books about like atomic bombs and things, but that's about it.
Absolutely. I mean, we all start somewhere, that is for sure. And I don't claim to know much about it either. But it's a real problem in space. I know that much. And I know Stephanie or Rachel. Rachel, yes. Rachel, when she did her CubeSat in college, she was trying to study radiation in low Earth orbit, which is where the CubeSat is going to be. There's just some really interesting stuff we could do with radiation and how it relates to any sort of biological thing we can put up there, which and it's just another thing to think about. And I guess just since we're on this breakout room, do you guys want to go around and just say specific things that you're interested in, if you are? interested in anything specific, like biology or chemistry or a particular type of fungus or water bears or something like that?
I like biology.
Uh-huh.
Kind of more than like physics and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm not really a chemistry person.
Mhm.
Yeah, biology would probably be my favorite kind of science. I definitely like all kinds of space things. Like not sometimes like I like real like learning about real space things, but I also like
Mhm.
things like Star Trek. But I mean like not real, but like it's still really good. So
Yeah, it sparks those thoughts in your mind. I completely agree with you there.
yeah.
Even though they're not all like realistic, I guess.
Mhm.
What about Elijah? Do you have any interests like that?
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in biology, but more marine biology.
Absolutely. I know, especially like very deep in the ocean, there's a lot of really, extreme conditions. So that could be something that we might be able to borrow something from the deep ocean to take into space. Yeah, that's another thing to think about, I guess. What about Robert? Do you have any interests like that?
I'm more interested into the coding side of stuff, coding and technology.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that'll be something we need no matter what. I guess. Do you have any experience with like deep learning or machine learning?
Um,
Or is that
Not
something like you're
really.
interested in?
I'm interested in it. I guess I don't know that much about it. I'm just interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Um, I can tell you, like pretty much any application from biology to like marine biology, the deep learning can definitely be applied. So we can have a lot of people working together from like the biological aspects to like the coding and the analyzing things, that side of things. And Gavin and Andrew, you both have your cameras hidden, so I can't see if you're actually there right now. But do you have any interests like that?
Yeah, I'm more interested in like the computer science area, like cybersecurity and coding, that kind of area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about you, Gavin? Plant life changes in space. So that kind of like more biology, but specifically on the plant side then? Yeah. Well, Andrew, to kind of speak to your cybersecurity thing, one of the things that AXP, as we've been talking, just brainstorming too, is cybersecurity. So um, when you spend like $100 million to like billions of dollars on putting satellites into space, you'd think that they'd like make things really secure, right? But no, surprisingly not. There's a lot of vulnerabilities that are like line these satellites, and a lot of the information that they send from the ground to the satellites and back is just like open air. Anyone can look at it if you have the right antenna. And that might be something that we actually do as like kind of a demonstration. We might just like get a big antenna, try and like take some of this information coming down from real satellites that cost like hundreds of millions of dollars and see if we can like just understand any of it, which is a real possibility. And people that, you know, I have to say, know a little bit more of what they're doing than we might, would be able to use that in really, potentially dangerous ways. So maybe not as like a primary objective, but as like a second or third objectives, we might be able to actually hire a penetration testing team. I don't know if you guys have heard of that before, but these teams of hackers that you pay, and they're going to try and break into it in order to, see if there's any vulnerabilities within it.
Yeah, that's kind of the job area that I want to work in. I just recently over the summer got into this and have been practicing it.
Absolutely. Be careful, that's for sure. You don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, I have to hack against my own, like all of my own virtual stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. John, did it sound like there was a lot of good ideas in the other group session too?
There are a lot. I'm sure there's a lot here too.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Are you guys writing down your ideas anywhere? Like, do you have a list of it?
I don't think we've been keeping great track of it, but
It's fine. Just so we have some sort of list. I put the other one just in the chat.
yeah. Yeah, I guess you guys have each had somewhat of your own ideas. Do you think you'd be able to talk about them just a little bit in the main group session when we go back? All right. Elsa at least is not in her head. That's good. All right.
Cool.
That sounds good.
I'm gonna try to wrap up everything then.
All right. And Gavin, so like your idea about how plant life changes in space, fruits and vegetables maybe, do you think that could be like applied to Elsa's idea for like the mushrooms and like that? All right. Yeah. Well, that should be good. Well, hopefully, it seems like we have a lot of like biology and then computer science stuff happening, at least in this breakout room, and we should be able to find a payload along those lines. But it looks like we're supposed to go back to the main room, so I will see you all on the other side.
Well, Joel, my team's going to run my company for the next 10 years. So how about you?
Yeah, that sounds about how it's gonna go. We might need a spare company if you could loan us one.
I have a few ideas.
Absolutely, it's good.
No, there are some very good ideas that I heard. I popped into both breakout rooms for a little bit.
John, we came up with some more that they're going to type into the chat.
Okay.
So there's a couple more ideas that were discussed.
Excellent. Yeah. And Joel's breakout room, if you guys want to type your ideas into the chat too.
Or if anyone has like any outstanding ideas, if they wanted to unmute themselves and kind of tell the group what the idea might be. I know at least in my breakout room, Elsa had some good ideas. If you wanted to talk about that a little.
Yeah, I can. So my idea was sending like mushrooms into space because they can survive in space. I thought it'd be kind of cool to see like how they do in space, how long can they survive in space. And Joel had like an idea like with colonization of other planets, like could we just send mushrooms there for people to eat or something?
Yeah, absolutely. Do other people on the call right now, do other people think that's a good idea to potentially investigate? All right.
How does it, Tegan, how does it fit with what your idea of radiation CO2?
Wait, do you want me to explain it? Oh, okay. Well, I was basically saying like there are different bacteria that eat like CO2 and radiation and stuff like that. But if we could find a way to like kind of make it into an energy source, that would be good for here because then it could eat the pollution that we have and then convert it back into renewable energy. Well, renewable energy.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
So I think what I'm going to do is like after the payload meeting with Kevin and his kids today, we'll probably have some more ideas. So I'm gonna just like save this list of ideas, and then maybe at next meeting we can kind of start to narrow them down a little bit and vote on them. Does that sound good to everyone?
Yeah. And especially for the payload meeting, you guys might get asked to kind of share your ideas. And please do, especially like Tegan and Elsa, I know you two spoke up and talked here. And anyone else that has any good ideas, if you could speak up in the next meeting too, that would be great.
Yeah, one thing the Florida team did with their ideas, if somebody had an idea, was they actually had them presented in the meeting, and they did a little bit of research to see whether it might work or how you might approach it. So I think we might want to just kind of do a little bit of digging in on, you know, if you have an idea, a little digging in to see some of the feasibility, not solve it. We definitely, that's part of what we'll be doing as we move forward, but just kind of check out, okay, how might this work, you know, considering that it might sit in a box for 3 months before it gets launched, and looking at the different things. How might we go about this so that when we start narrowing it down, we're kicking off on the ones that are more feasible, knowing that there's some constraints of being in space. And John, you went through some of those constraints, and so we might want to share this these PowerPoint slides with the whole team.
Definitely,
just
yeah.
have those for reference.
Yeah, definitely.
The other thing that I mentioned to our breakout room, but we'll mention to the others. NASA's going to evaluate the feasibility and the probability of success for the payload in the experiment, and in addition to the value. One of the things that we have to keep in mind is keeping it simple, so that they know that it's achievable while it has value. So it's a constraint, not necessarily for space, but it's a constraint for being selected. And that way they know that it's viable. So kind of consider that as you go through. Don't let it limit you, but consider it.
Yeah, that's a good point, John.
Yeah, we're going to be learning a lot just on how to put together a CubeSat, that we don't want to overwhelm ourselves where we can't do that and a good payload. And so the simpler, the better. Yeah.
The good thing is you guys are at a grade and age that we can do this four times by the time you graduate from school. So lots of ideas for later on. Make them tough later on.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we just have a few things to kind of finish things up. And then we'll go ahead and kind of wrap up the meeting and give you guys a few minutes before the next meeting with North Carolina and Florida starts, if you guys are planning on attending that. So just some homework for next time, or not necessarily homework, things we'd like you to do probably sooner than later is to both join Trello and join Slack. John, do you want to copy and paste those links in the chat again?
Yeah.
And then hopefully we can kind of collaborate through those two mediums and kind of go into how to use them in future meetings, or just post something about it. Kind of just things to do in between. Try and, continue developing those payload ideas. I know Elsa and Tegan, you two both had some pretty cool ideas. If you wanted to do some more research on those ideas and have some slides to present on next time, that would be great. And if you have any questions about that, you can message us on Slack and we can help you with anything that you would need help with alongside that. And then for the team name, from the poll, it looked like Big Red Sat had the most votes. It looks like it's reset now, but Can anyone confirm that it was Big Red Sat was the one that had the most votes?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay, well, I think Big Red Sat is what we'll currently be going with, and I believe, Katie, you were the one with a bit of graphic design experience, right? All right, I can't see. Yeah, Katie, it was you, right? Yes. Okay. If you wanted to put together a few ideas that you might have, or you know, use your creative energy, and if you're too busy, you can have someone else try and help with the graphic design side of things. That would be awesome. If you could just try and reach out to us on Slack, and we can help you with anything along those side of things.
And
we,
Andrew was also interested in trying to do a few.
Andrew, that's right. Yeah, so if anyone really has any experience or just wants to give it a try, please do. I see some things are being said in the chat. Yeah, so that's a good question. Who all is going to be joining the payload meeting with North Carolina and Florida?
Also, John McClure, you said you asked if we could record the meeting. I think that might be something that Kevin can do, but I'm not sure if we can do that or not. But it's definitely a good idea.
Specifically, I guess a question with that is that to record the payload meeting or these regular meetings on Saturdays? Both. Okay, I kind of thought about that. This meeting is being recorded, and I am going to, I think I might make a YouTube account, post them on YouTube, and just to make them publicly viewable for anyone that wants to view our meetings. But that's still kind of in the works. But we will plan on doing that into the future. All right, so that's all the homework that we have, or homework, I guess. We don't want to make this something that's not enjoyable for anyone. We want to make sure that people enjoy this. Just kind of a last words to send people off. Nate Jensen is a old member of the Aerospace Club. I only got to really talk to him a couple times last year, but right now he's working on the Dragonfly project through NASA, or the Dragonfly rover, which is an autonomous drone that's going to be going onto one of Saturn's moons. But he just gave this general advice, and I think it's really something that's important to us right now. So just not to limit ourselves on taking on challenging tasks that we don't know how to solve. There's going to be a lot of things that we're approached with throughout this process that we're going to have no idea about how to even start. But just jumping into it and working our hardest to try and find how to solve this problems that we're going to approach. And some of what Stephanie and Rachel were talking about, you all have the AXP team as mentors. There's many more of us that hopefully you guys will get to meet in the future. And then we also have our professional mentors, all sorts of them. We have John McClure, we have Karen and Sally on the call right now. And then, of course, all of the college students in the Aerospace Club and AXP. So hopefully there's a lot of resources that we can solve these problems if we do approach them. But with that,
Can I jump in real quick on Nate? He joined the rocketry club. He actually helped her build it. He'd never built a rocket in his life before. He actually, you know how they talked about Honeybee Robotics where they're working on rovers? That's where he works right now. So you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy what some people can do with enough effort and time working on a project. And it's achievable to all of us right now. We just have to give it our worst, I guess. But with that, we'll try and give everyone a few minutes. If you are coming to the Florida and North Carolina meeting, and we'd love to see you there. But but I guess
What time does it start?
just at noon. It's right around the corner here. We didn't plan it like that. Yeah. But yeah, and if you guys can stop in for at least a little bit, that'd be great too. But it was great to see you all again today. Hopefully we'll see you all again 10 a.m. to noon next Saturday too. And if you could join Slack and Trello, and we'll try and communicate a little bit through Slack especially. That'll be good. But we'll see you all next week then. All right, see you guys.
It was a lot of fun.